So, absolute pleasure today to have great friend Faisal on the podcast for the second time. I think you were my
Thank
second
you.
guest on this. That was like 82 episodes ago. Very much. Uh,
Yeah.
Today's conversation is going to be fascinating and quite scary in some respects, I think. So, it's on how you essentially beat the coronavirus and survived it because you
Uh,
actually contracted the coronavirus, didn't you?
yes, I did actually. Yeah. This was actually in Morocco where we thought there were 20 cases in the whole country, and it turned out that I'm one of the 20. So it was one of these things. Now, obviously, guys, you can probably hear me. I'm not 100% in terms of my pronunciation because I after the corona. Um, Hitting my tonsils, my ears. It hit some of the nerves in my face as well, where it kind of paralyzed my face on one side. So my pronunciation might not be 100% still, but I hope you guys can understand what I'm saying.
That's perfect.
Um,
Thank you
yeah,
for doing this because I think it will give a lot of people like inspiration and like hope also for anyone else who they're going through it themselves or they've got a family member going through it. They're like, this is beatable and you can come through it.
absolutely, absolutely. So basically, how it all started was a little scratch on my throat. I had a couple of guys, having dinner with me in my place. I was actually just to quickly brief that down. I was prepping for a show in Morocco at that time, from February all the way to April. So I had myself a nice little place there. I was training at a gym. My life was just completely bodybuilding. And that night, I had a couple of guys coming over to have they brought their dinner with them. I had my meal and everything, and it kind of started with that little scratch. And I thought, maybe I've had a cold drink or something, or maybe the weather wasn't good, and it just escalated from that point until I got to a stage. This was on the 14th of March, so I got to about 5 days later with 40-degree plus, temperature. I started seeing things in my bedroom. I started hallucinating. Um, I started speaking to the people around me in the bedroom when there was no one was there, and it got to a stage where I had to pick up the phone and call the embassy to bring me home. And at that point, they were like, "Okay, listen, if you have high temperature, we can't do anything. Until your temperature comes down, then you can board the flight, basically." So I did everything I can. I kind of learned how to bring it down using paracetamol and some. They've given me some antibiotics. They thought it was tonsillitis actually over there. And as soon as I got myself 6 hour drive to Marrakesh. Got back on the plane. Corona virus was on full aggression, as we say. I came back isolation. I couldn't breathe. I started again hallucinating. My temperature went up back to 40. My face was like I couldn't even explain it. My throat was like I've just swallowed a cactus. And I wouldn't, the simplest things you can think of, like drinking a sip of water, that was a luxury for me at that point. And and that like food and stuff like that, that was just nothing. I mean, I started my prep was I was 97 kilos shredded, getting ready for a show. Coming back to London, I was 86 kilos, and there's nothing on me because there's no food, there's no drink. All I could do is just take my medicine and just keep put until I feel a little bit better. Trying to have a soup or some oats.
Did,
You know,
did
I
this
creamed the
escalate quite quickly then? Did it come on like fast? Like you initially thought it was obviously like a sore throat and then it just started to sort of kick in or?
it was, as I said, it was a little scratch, and then that scratch kind of got longer and longer and longer until it caught my whole throat, as if someone just slit my throat, with a knife.
Yeah.
Um, and the things that came along with it was even worse, like the temperature, the headache, the sweating, and obviously the hallucinating. I mean, I never thought this would ever happen to me. You know, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Charlie. It's scary because you're sitting in a room and you think people are standing over your bed and you're talking to them. You know, and that's actually crazy. You think like, seriously, could this really happen to a human being? And that's obviously because of the temperature being so high. You don't know what you're doing anymore. So I started putting my head in the freezer just for me to bring my temperature down. I didn't know what to do. I'm alone. You know, the gyms are closed. I'm a foreigner over there. You know, I'm away from home, so I don't know many people. So by the time the embassy actually said, "Okay, listen, there's a flight tomorrow. You need to get your backside on there," then you know this was like, you know what? I need to find the strength somewhere to come home, because at that point, even though I was convinced that wasn't even Corona, because there was 20 cases in the whole country, you know. So I thought, you know what, it's impossible. I'm probably
A
just
lot of
ill.
probability and averages. You'd have to be very unlucky, obviously, which you were.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is, once we landed, this was the problem because I got tested here, and they were like, "Okay, you need to get in, my friend." So they got me to an isolation center, which is a hospital, and they put me in this weird shower. They had like a chemical shower that, you know, one day I could post to you guys on Instagram, and they have to like shower you down with kind of a, I wouldn't call it chemical, I don't know, some sort of substance to kill the virus around you. And they just kept me there until obviously the temperature started to subside, you know, to kind of come down a little bit. The the throat started to come a little bit better, obviously with hot drinks and everything, but still the aggression of the virus wasn't easy at all. I mean, here we're talking about someone who was getting ready for a show, strong, you know, muscular. You call it. You know, I'm 39 years old. I'm not that old, but in the same time, you think, you know, it could hit anyone. It's where people think, you know, it hits children, elderly. No, it hits where you're weakest. So if you had a problem, for example, with your ear when you're a kid, it'll probably go right in there. And this is what happened with me because I had a problem with my right ear since I was a kid, and it went right into there. And now, obviously, you know, struggling with the nerve um, on the right hand, you know, the right side of my face. It kind of makes a lot of sense now of what's going on. But it's, as I said, we need to fight. This is the fight that we have to, you know, put up with, is to stay healthy, keep your immune system nice and good. You know, try your best to stay at home, as we said. You know.
How how quickly has it taken you to recover from, like, what's been sort of time scale? Like, have you come back to life, started to eat again? Like, do you
Mm.
have a ventilator or anything like that?
Yes. The last 2 days they put me on a ventilator. Just because they thought my breathing wasn't 100%, the respiration wasn't I was like below 80 or something like that. And then within a day, it went back to 96. So they were like, "Oh, you're fine." But because what's happened here, the the fortunate thing that what happened was when I got back to London, I managed to meet the doctor, um, and she said to me, "Where was the first symptom?" So she kind of calculated how many days I've been having it. So when I got back to London, it felt like I was right at the end of it. So if we say the 14th, I got rid of it by the 20th. Sorry, not the 20th. By the 24th.
Okay, so
So 10 days. 10 days. This is where it hit me the hardest. And then the 28th, I went back to the hospital for my Bell's palsy,
yeah,
and that was, they took a swab and they were like, yeah, you know, you've got some antibodies in there. That means you've gone over. You've passed it. So, you know, they even gave me a clap, and then you know, in the hospital. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
what
But
were the NHS staff like?
oh my God, man, this is a completely different subject here, because the calmness, you know, even though with us being so, you know, in panic mode, all of us around here, they were calm, and uh, so efficient to a stage where I was like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with the country, because it's impossible that there's a whole pandemic going on here, and these guys are so calm. But then at the same time, you see the speed of the efficiency of the work. It's just unbelievable. Everyone's just doing something, and everyone's just, obviously, I think mostly what I saw was the ambulance. The ambulances were really busy, rather than the actual hospitals inside. But again, as I said, the efficiency wouldn't allow you to see how busy they are, because they're working just like a clock. They're just so efficient. And obviously they're very calm. They wouldn't even mention anything about the coronavirus inside there. Just they're just carrying on with the work like a normal day. But I know, I can see it, I can feel it. You walk in there, there's something not right.
Yeah, 100%. Do you find, obviously you've been away for a little while in Morocco, did you find when you came back into the UK, there very much felt like there was an atmosphere? Like, I travelled back in from Canada, and like the airports felt eerie. Like everywhere feels very, very on edge.
Yes. I mean, obviously, I had a 6-hour drive from Tangier, which is the north of Morocco, down to more like middle of Morocco. So 6-hour drive to Marrakesh. As soon as I got to Marrakesh, the army went down to the streets, and by that time I was at the sort of the how would you call it, the radius of the airport. So they just had to let me in anyway. And as soon as I got into the airport, this is where I felt like, okay, this doesn't look like a normal day. Everyone obviously is away from each other. Everyone's like on the phone, panic. I wouldn't. It's not even a panic. I don't know what it is. You can tell there's an atmosphere that isn't really comfortable. The embassies are grabbing their citizens, like shouting out, like who's from America, who's from England, they're trying to get their people checked in ASAP to get on the flights. But then the weirdest thing was on the plane, knowing us being British, everyone was drinking. So everyone was drinking alcohol. Everyone was happy to be
Not
home.
including you, I presume, Faisal.
No, not at all. I was, I was in a state. 3 hours felt like 20 hours trying to get home. And but everyone seemed too chilled on the plane. I'm thinking, like, you guys are okay? Are you sure you're good? But yeah, I mean, this was the experience of it. And as soon as I landed, there was a team down there. They were like, listen, everyone needs to be seen. So that, okay, and that this is where they're like, okay, you go home, you come with us. And so yeah, I was taken straight away, and it was I was lucky, because if we didn't have that kind of service here, or this kind of I wouldn't even call it service. I mean, this kind of care, we would have been all dead. It's and a lot of people are speaking about the NHS being so slow about things, or maybe not taking the correct precautions, and the countries not being locked down properly. But I think there's so much you can do around. You can't stop people from going shopping for food and stuff like that. So there is a how would I say that? I mean, there's a kind of a balance between what they're trying to do and how they're containing the virus. So I really appreciate how much I've been looked after, and I appreciate, obviously, what they're trying to do. So
yeah, 100% agree with you. I think the UK took a fairly sensible approach with everything we've done. We haven't gone too overboard with anything.
Absolutely,
it's been measured and as controlled as possible, to be honest with you, without going overboard. The fact where, like, you're not allowed to go outside and exercise. I think some people are taking the piss, but like, the vast majority of people are incredibly respectful, and I think this has given people a lot of thought about appreciating the smaller things in life. Because, like,
absolutely,
absolutely, a liberty and freedom of, like, you can't go to the gym. You can't, like, for me, the only things that have really changed, I can't go to the gym and I can't go out for dinner. and like you suddenly realize those small things you take for granted to have the ability to do are taken away from you. You suddenly probably appreciate your freedom so much more.
Of course. I mean, I said this not long ago. I mean, if we don't manage to realize or how to like take the opportunity to grow from this experience, that means we're never going to grow.
No.
So I think from this experience, our freedom was kind of taken away from us, and we have to appreciate what we have in terms of family, friends, colleagues, and just people around your neighbor. I haven't seen my neighbor for God knows maybe 6 months now because I've been away for that long. So it's the little things that I try to now look back into and think, you know what, maybe I should reach out to my old friends. Like the guys who were, they were just busy, and like I do miss them now. And part of it, again, as you said, the gym, our only outlet, our only place where you can actually vent, and it's been taken away from us. So I can imagine relationships at home, to clashes, dads don't want to be around the children for a little while. It's normal. But again, as I said, it creates a bond. We should really grow and learn from this experience. But there's a question that I actually did want to ask you. How are you training?
I'm very fortunate. Neighbour who works for me, who I've basically been self-isolating with, has a full home studio and gym. So
Fantastic.
So I'm very, very fortunate. And again, I appreciate the small things like that. So we've got a full power rack, cable machine, dumbbells up to 30 kilos. So
that's very good.
I'm very fortunate that it's, again, like as I've said a lot of times, that this is an opportunity, and it's been an opportunity to me to go back and try and do something different. So like in terms of training,
absolutely,
a lot of different things now, like learning to front squat, something I've never been able to do. So I set a goal of want to be able to do 140 kilos in 3 weeks, and I'll be able to do that next week. And it's like breaking things down and giving yourself like specific with targets and goals during phases like this is the real like vital thing that I think everybody needs to do, to be honest with you, to try and see yourself.
100%. How I look at things now, I mean, in terms of us being athletes, it's time now for us to be more creative and use whatever we have. We all have bands, we all have a little bit of dumbbells here and there, but it's how you can create your own exercises that fit you now, and how to be creative and more use your imagination a little bit more. I think that would give a lot of people more experience once they're back into the gym, and obviously they'll give them more kind of appreciation to what they have in the gym too. Maybe they start putting their weights back.
I've been making a lot of like sick home body weight workouts, and I've been doing a few of them myself. Did a few live ones, and literally it's horrendous how difficult they are when you do them correctly. And I think people take for granted necessarily how hard some of these things can be if you make them difficult. But you have.
I've been asked a lot for home workouts nowadays. It's been selling quite well, actually. I don't know about yourself, but I've heard a lot of people are doing really well selling home workouts.
Yeah, there's a huge. Well, the thing is, people have got a massive problem that they need help with at the moment. So, and that's what the fitness industry needs to do, is try and help people. Like in terms of like obviously your recovery from the coronavirus, did you find anything in particular sort of sped things up, or was there anything in particular you've been doing or you're doing?
100%. I mean, to be honest with you here, I relied a lot on hot teas, and a lot of people think, oh, we've heard that before. But guys, listen, when you make your own hot tea, and I'm not saying a tea bag that says lime and ginger on it. No, you actually grind. I mean, you grate your own ginger, soak it in water, put your lime on the side. Start making things at home, guys. Buying things off the counter. It's all great, it's all convenient and everything, but this is your time to learn, and this is your time to actually start maybe doing more organic things, like cooking your you don't have to open a pack of rice. No, cook your rice. Start doing things the way that it should be.
And do you know what you're saying about small things? That's the small thing that I've really appreciated, is actually like cooking a lot more myself now.
Absolutely.
because I'm at home and I just sort of like at the moment I'm gonna take my calories up. I'm gonna focus on strength training, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
like try and make this a different phase in my life of just trying new things, so trying new training, trying new nutrition approaches, trying new. I've got tons of recipes in my recipe book that I've got that I haven't even
Yeah.
used a lot of them, so it's loads of cool stuff.
100%, 100%. As I said, I mean, for me personally, what actually helped me a lot was, first of all, this is really important for a lot of people. If you do ever get that kind of scratch in your throat, believe me, guys, apple cider vinegar with a bit of salt and warm water, and gargle with that 3 times a day. I swear to God, guys, it did actually cure me. And this is not a joke. I mean, I actually couldn't eat at some point because of how it felt. But as soon as I do that, it soothes it down a little bit where I can start putting some food in me. It does go back to being, quite bad, but at least it soothes it down a little bit until you get to your next meal. And this actually helped a lot. I mean, now I'm doing it religiously because it just feels so good, for the throat, for the teeth. And on top of that, I was doing ginger, lime, and honey.
Yeah,
Obviously, organic honey,
beautiful.
ginger, lime, and it works. I've been doing a lot of chamomile tea before sleeping, because obviously when it helps with your regulating your temperature. Little things like that, fennel teas and stuff like that. But try, guys, to actually make it yourself if you can get hold of anywhere around you where you can grab the actual plants. That would be much more beneficial for you. And it does work, guys. Believe me, these things do work. Your immune system. The thing is, Charlie, what we don't understand is that we understand that we grow in the kitchen. We break down muscle in the gym. We know that, but we don't realize that when we're training, we're exposed. Your immune system still is on the edge when
I,
we're at high peak.
compromised, yeah. When you're
Yeah,
healing your immune system by training.
exactly. So what happens here is that you still need to go home and you still need to boost that up. And what happens here is that a lot of people think, oh, you guys are athletes, you're fine. No, we're not fine. We're exposed. We're actually exposed because when we train with vests, and we're sweating, and there's wind around us. There's all sorts of bacteria around us. We touch things in the gym. We don't know who's sitting on. Sorry for saying that, but we don't know who's sitting on the bench before us. We could grab anything. So it's one of these things where we don't realize until this happened. We never realized until this happened now. So for me now, I look at it and think, you know what, my immune system is actually so important that I used to miss my vitamin tablets just because, you know what, I'm prepping, I'm eating vegetables, and I'm eating all that. Now, this is the first thing I look at. Go back to your vitamins, go back to your minerals. Like, take them. Don't just leave them because you're prepping for a show or you're getting ready for an event, or
That's people's
you know
own
what.
naivety is so stupid and short-sighted. Like the most, like I put together as soon as this came out, like a supplement cheat sheet of stuff to help boost your immune system.
Hmm.
And a lot of
Yeah.
people are reluctant to necessarily invest in their health. But what people don't understand is that the healthier your body is, the
Hmm.
stronger it will be, and the better your ability will have to repair muscle tissue to grow to be leaner. Because if your body is performing in like peak optimal state, like whatever your goal is to burn muscle or build body fat, it will do it faster. There's no doubt about that.
100%, 100%. I mean, look at us. I mean, every time, you probably experienced it yourself. Every time you hit like a peak, like where you think, okay, I'm stage ready right now. Most of us fall ill after the show.
Yeah, because
You know,
your body's compromised.
exactly, exactly.
Look,
So
or
this gives
you're
you an indicator.
weaker state.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is the indicator right here. It's telling you, listen, you've taken me off the cliff. Now it's time for me to relax. If you're not going to let me relax, I'm going to break. So this is where we have to be a little bit smarter and actually start doing something about the immune system. And we always thought about our you know the nervous system after training, how to sleep, we tackled everything in bodybuilding. But then when I start looking back into my books now, I had really minimal stuff, which is really stupid of me, to be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I looked at it. I'm thinking like, why did I look after all these things when I was getting ready for the show? Why did I have to do it now? You know, which is an eye opener. I'm not gonna lie. You know, this. I put my hand up on this and say, you know what, guys, you know, it's my bad.
100%. What obviously to sort of take some sort of conclusions out of the situation, I think some of the things people would obviously need to gravitate from the situation is how serious this is. Like, was
Yeah.
there anything you particularly saw whilst you were in hospital, which was like very eye opening for you, or anything throughout that?
Um, as I said, Charlie. I mean, the first thing I did, I from the one of the first things that I did was when I woke up. I mean, I say woke up. I woke up from that 40.2 degree um, temperature. I actually text you and three other people that I actually really missed. Okay, and when I say that, I didn't. I'm not saying it like, you know, that I missed in terms of friendship and stuff. It's one of these things where you think I had a chance to speak to those guys last month, and I decided that I was so consumed with my own things, with my own world, that I would think, you know what, I'll do it later. And these are the things that I don't want to do anymore. If I feel like I need to speak to someone, and if I need to reach out to someone, I'm just going to pick up my phone and call from now on. It made me realize how small the world is because of technology, but at the same time, it is us who are trying to separate from each other. So it's kind of, you know, even in our industry, I've realized there's a lot of the industry kind of started to lack class because we started to insult each other because of the way we look.
Yeah, try and put
It
them
is.
down and build them up.
Do you see what I mean? There was no was at the end, even before the coronavirus. I was sitting down a lot of times on social media, and I see the insults coming from, oh, look at this guy, he doesn't have abs, this guy doesn't have this doesn't have that, this guy doesn't have this, he can't pose, and he can't. Well, hold on for a second, guys. I thought we are all this in together, you know. And I now I appreciate the industry. I appreciate you guys as athletes. I appreciate me standing with you guys and talking in expos, and because it was all taken away from us. We never appreciated it in the beginning. So this is the eye opener for me more than the actual virus itself. It's the freedom that was taken away from us, Charlie.
100%. And like, you suddenly realize how vulnerable your freedom is, let alone your health in these sort of situations, how everything taken.
100%.
Like, it's funny what you're saying that about reaching out to people. I often like, I admittedly don't speak to my parents enough. So like, I think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it later. And then like I get tired by the end of the day. I think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And it's the same thing you were saying there is like, you always put these things off, but then like in your last moments of life or whenever you think you've got a problem, that's when you suddenly realize you need to make time and reprioritize maybe what is more important,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
you
yeah.
spend your time with.
Yeah, I mean, as I said previously, you know, my parents live somewhere. They live in Surrey. I live in Hertfordshire now, and now not being able to just see them, I'm like, hold on for a second. FaceTime's not the same, but you know, like I could have driven down, you know, at least twice a week. It's only an hour drive, and I'm thinking, like, you know what? Uh, maybe that should change. You know, that should change.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think it's just reprioritizing. Like, not that other things are less important, but you just need to maybe take the context of the situation sometimes. With like, you won't always have the opportunity to speak to friends, family, loved ones, and just. I think this is one benefit we can all take from it. It'll give us a little bit more awareness in that respect.
100%, 100%. But I'm glad you're training, because I'm not looking forward to training at any point soon now because of what my face is going through. But I wish everyone an amazing workout at home, because you know it works. Whatever lets your mind settle and meditate the correct way, then I'm with it. You know, don't listen to the people that say, oh, you're not going to grow through you know, through training at home, or you know, it's not beneficial, it's not going to do anything. It's not about that, guys.
Your mindset, I think.
It's about you. It's about you. You know, if you feel like you want to do it, then guys, do it. If it's benefiting you mentally, mental health at this point is really, really important. So whatever works for you guys, you keep doing it, and I'm here to support.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. Thank you for the wise words and words of wisdom there, I think, from your own personal experience.
Thank you, Charlie, for having me. Actually,
quite a brave thing, I think, to open up about this sort of situation. So I think a lot of people take a huge amount of value. So I hope everyone listening obviously enjoyed that and took some somber thoughts and some serious perspective from it.
100%.
On a more positive note, by the time this podcast is released, I'll be able to announce it. But I've been working. Why I've been getting up every day at 4:30 to do work is I've probably built probably the best 8-week training program for men and women, which is now I've reduced massively in price so everyone can afford it because I can appreciate people's financial positions. So it's actually now 70% off at £37 a month for Shred and 8, and the same price for Sculpt and 8. So if anyone wants to grab a place on that, that will be available in the link below the podcast. And I'll actually be giving away a place for each of the programs for anyone who leaves a review from myself and Faisal in the podcast and shares it with their story. I'll be giving away one program, place on each program every week for the next few weeks. So please enter, guys. Please leave us a review. Please check out Faisal. What was your Instagram?
The Dictator 23.
The Dictator 23 who crushed coronavirus. That's good.
Yes,
How the Dictator beat the coronavirus.
Yep.
So I love that. So thank you so much for your time, dude. And
thank you.
Speedy recovery.
Thanks a lot. Have